Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. Hey, listen, I know they've been talking about this brouhaha between Stephen A. Smith and Jasmine Crockett for a while. So I'm going to just bundle it all together and just go ahead and do a reaction video to Stephen A. Going over his response, a little bit of Jasmine's response, some of the black liberals who tried to attack Stephen A. for telling the truth. And we're going to just go from there. I'm going to say my little piece. And so like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button on the way in. This should be an interesting one. You know, Stephen A. Smith is, he goes without saying. Everybody knows who he is. And I wanted to see how he was going to come out of this one. This whole notion of canceling him for Jasmine Crockett was absurd from the beginning. But, you know, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and see a little bit of what he said. And you tell me whether you think he was correct in what he said, because I'll let you know right now, he didn't say anything wrong. You know, this whole notion that black women can't be checked, it has got to stop. It just has got to stop. And so we're going to put a little bow on that right now. What's going on, Curtis? How you doing? Happy Saturday. So let's go ahead and get it started because everybody knows what the situation is. And this tape of Stephen A. is from his Sirius broadcast, I believe. And what's going on, Catelia? Happy Saturday. And we're going to go through the progression of things. I'm going to stop it here and there, you know, and maybe say my stupidity once in a while. But this is a nice little compilation of how the whole thing has played out. I don't at the end, his response is a little bit more than I would give credit to the people who are coming after him. So I'm going to try to keep my cool and try to keep the curse words down to a minimum because I know those black liberals really piss me off and it's time for us to just ignore them altogether. So without further ado, let's see what's happening with Stephen A. Let me go ahead and share this shit first before I do it. Let me stop that, share that. Grab, there it is.
Shooter with Stephen A.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the special edition of Straight Shooter with yours truly, Stephen A. Smith, coming at you as I love to do every single week. Normally, I'm coming at you on just Wednesday nights, what have you, talking about politics and stuff like that. But I felt compelled to come on the air a little bit earlier this week after what I've had to endure this weekend. What I had to endure this weekend were an abundance of people talking a whole lot of stuff about me because they did not like what I had to say about Representative Jasmine Crockett. She is a Democrat out of Texas, Texas's 30th congressional district. Her work, you know, and her verbiage and all of that stuff speaks for itself. And she has become, a big time public figure in essence, not just as a representative, but speaking out on a plethora of issues involving the current administration and the White House, et cetera, et cetera. And I made some noise last week because I had the temerity, the unmitigated gall to say this about Representative Crockett when talking about the state of our politics in the midst of a government shutdown, by the way, that has unfolded since October 1st. Take a listen to what I had to say last week, please. You Jasmine Crockett or somebody like that. Ladies, I respect intelligent women, no doubt. But how a Jasmine Crockett chooses to express herself, I'm like, is that going to help your district in Texas? Aren't you there to find a way to get stuff done as opposed to just being an impediment to what Trump wants? How much work goes into that? I'm just going to go off about Trump, cuss him out every chance I get, say the most derogatory, incendiary things imaginable, and that's my day's work. That ain't work. Work is saying, That's the man in power. I know what his agenda is. I'm not exactly in a position to stop him since the Republicans have the Senate and the House. But maybe if I'm willing to work with this man, I might get something out of it for my constituency. Because like Joe Manchin said, he's there to represent, or was there for 15 years to represent the people of West Virginia. She's supposed to be there to represent the people of Texas. I don't know. Maybe that just sounds ignorant because it's so simple.
It's not ignorant, and it is simple. And that's what she's supposed to be doing. So I didn't, the problem I have is no matter what you think about Stephen A. Smith, every time he talks, not every time, most of the time when he speaks, he's very measured. He's very measured. He knows what it is to say the wrong thing and get suspended or ruffle feathers, but he's very measured in what he says. And he absolutely didn't say anything bad or wrong about Jasmine Crockett. Every time we see that cackling hyena, she's just going off at the jibs. Period. I mean, it's like people are developing a blind spot to her because nobody wants to hear what she has to say because it's the same old rhetoric all the time.
But it ain't that damn complicated. We make it complicated. Damn, it's frustrating. It really can be. And all the verbiage and all the nonsense that I've heard over the last few days is why it can get exhausting. Because nothing frustrates me more than when people have the truth at their disposal and they choose maybe not lie, maybe not even embellish, but allow their emotions to usurp facts, and all of a sudden want to use that as an excuse to label me as being something and doing something I'm neither not nor have I done, which in this case is disrespecting Representative Crockett out of Texas, who, by the way, has had an invite to this show for weeks, by the way. Governors Josh Shapiro and Spencer Cox came on this show. Senator Lindsey Graham came on this show. Joe Manchin, now retired, came on this show. Bill O'Reilly, Bill Maher came on this show. Okay? And more coming. And she has an invite. And AOC has an invite. Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic House Leader, he just was on this show. I've invited Jasmine Crockett. I have nothing but respect for her. I just disagree on what she's making headlines for because I think it's counterproductive to the ultimate goal. But yet, here we are, and the word disrespect comes in, and people try to engage with words, like disrespect and implying misogyny and all of this other nonsense. Stop it. Stop it. Can we be grown-ups and deal with what the real issue is involving what I said? Willie D.
And you know what, Stephen A., you're absolutely correct. And, this is the best thing that has happened to the Black community in such a while. And here's why I'm going to say this. One of the things is you're kind of too big to cancel in the same old-fashioned way because a great deal of your constituents or supporters are probably white people. And they don't want to hear this bullshit from Jasmine Crockett either. You know what I'm saying? You've cultivated an audience that's so broad and so wide. Most people don't agree with anything that this woman says. And so the Black Djangoites who are coming after you, the Stevens from Django, they are using the same old tropes that they use against every other Black person that they don't like what they're saying. And it's not going to work this time. And I think it's just because it's you. If it was somebody else, maybe they would have more inroads. One of the things that they don't have, one of the things that you have is you like to push back, instead of crawling into a hole and into a shell. And this is the kind of stuff I was glad to see you do. Now, I haven't seen this whole video, and I hope to God that nowhere in here that you apologize to this fucking crackling hen. Do you hear me? You know, I don't know if you're going to do it or not. You made me curse, but you can't apologize to this woman or anybody else. Let's go.
Roland Martin, Bakari Sellers, and Angela Rye, who I have profound respect for.
You mean the woman who says she hates half the country? Why are we respecting that? Why?
I mean, the list goes on and on with all of these people. I don't have their names in front of me. To my producer that texted to me, I don't have my phone on me right now, so I apologize for not having those names in front of me. But I'm what are we talking about? How's it disrespectful to say what I said? Could you just disagree? Could we just say, yo, Stephen A., I disagree with you. Here's why. We got Willie D. Put up that quote, please. He's putting out quotes or text or tweets about me. Let's see that again. Stephen A. Smith taking shots at Jasmine Crockett ain't just messy, it's weak. Dude is sitting on one of the biggest mics in America, and instead of using it to uplift, he's tearing down a black woman who's out here putting in real work. That ain't critique, that's betrayal. Jasmine Crockett ain't the problem. She's the kind of woman who walks into rooms full of snakes and makes the snakes flinch. Meanwhile, Stephen's showing what happens when the paycheck gets louder than the principal. That's sucker shit, straight up, end quote. Wow, Willie D. You sure are uplifting. I mean, I got to be touched. That was inspirational. Really, that really, really was. That was inspirational. I'm doing sucker shit. That's what you call inspirational? That's what you call uplifting? Really? Now, I haven't heard everything that Roland Martin said, D.L. Hughley had to say, and all the other names that I mentioned, but I'm sure it's along the same lines. Nothing but respect. First of all, I'm going to be very, very careful about anything that I say about Roland Martin because he's a friend. I'm going to be careful about anything that I say about D.L. Hughley because
you know, see, this is the equivocating bullshit that I don't like, but I know why he has to say it, you know, but I think you guys are throwing around the word friendship a little bit too easy, you know, because friends don't turn on each other that easy. You know what I'm saying? You would get a phone call. You would get something and say, hey, man, did you have to say that? And then you go back and say, what, you mean I can't say the truth about Jasmine Crockett because she's a black woman? You know what? I think that's one of the number one things black men need to stop doing. We got to stop freaking apologizing for telling black women the truth.
I have respect for that man. We've spoken a few months ago. I got nothing but love for him. I am concerned about him not making people laugh and smile as much anymore as he used to because he's more of an activist now than a comedian, but that's a choice and that's his right. And nothing but love for him and respect. And anybody else too. My issue with Bakari Sellers is how he talked about me without ever speaking out or reaching out because you don't like a position that I took before or whatever, but you want to come on and sell your book after. See, I don't play that nonsense. I don't like that. Disagree with what I said. Say why without all the other nonsense. Got nothing but respect. Willie D got over 1 million subscribers. Man, props to you. Doing your thing. Wishing you nothing but the best. Not getting into all that nonsense. But let's deal with what I was saying, please. Can we do that? Can we be real? So let's take it. Let's take it back. Let's look at the resume of Jasmine Crockett. 30th Congressional District. By the way, the two senators that represent Texas is Senator John Cornyn and Ted Cruz. Both Republicans. I'm so surprised. Okay? So you got them in Texas, and they're doing their thing, right? What are we talking about here in terms of Jasmine Crockett's district? 750,000 North Texans. Texas's 30th Congressional District, vibrant community in the heart of Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. That's the area she represents as a congressional representative. Earned her BA in Business Administration from Rhodes College and a JD from the University of Houston. She's licensed to practice law in Texas, Arkansas, and the federal courts. So this is an accomplished, well-educated woman. Ain't nothing about her stupid. Ain't nothing about her something to dismiss or disrespect when it comes to her resume. Let's get that out of the way so as to make sure I'm not being disrespectful when we're talking about her, okay? What's her reputation?
You see, now here's where he's going to get into the point that, you know, and this is a real good point. The fact is she has all of these accolades. She, you know, I think her education probably is valued closer to $300 to $500, somewhere between $300 and $500 million from grade school to jurisprudence. And, you know, there is no way in the world she came out of there talking the way she does, cursing the way she does, representing the way she does. And that's what's so disingenuous about the way this woman is portraying herself. And she's getting paid to do it, right? She belongs to the Congressional Black Caucus. And now all you black people out there, you know, I'm 67 years old, okay? And I voted all the way up for Democrats, all the way up until Hillary. And I still can't get my head wrapped around that shit, okay? I can't remember one thing that the Congressional Black Caucus has done for any black people. I mean, where's the legislation? Where has the Congressional Black Caucus got out and did anything for the black community, right? Since 1960 up until now, the Democrats has 6 times under 5 presidents, FDR, Carter, Clinton, Obama, and Biden had all houses of the federal government, including a favorable Supreme Court. Well, where's the reparations? Where's the things? Where's the lynching bill? Where's the shit that the black people been asking for when the Democrats had all seats of power? Where's all that stuff at? Jasmine Crockett certainly ain't asking for it. So I'm just saying, at some point, where's the tangibles that we're supposed to get out of having our representatives be black liberals? I don't see it.
Crockett's performance in the House, according to research, and her success in delivering wins for her district is quote unquote mixed. She's active, ambitious, and visible, exceptional when it comes to fundraising. But many of her major efforts are still works in progress, bills stuck in committees, introduced but have stalled, etc., according to Congress.gov. I'm just reading. She faced similar difficulties as a state rep. The Texas legislature's sole black freshman had big plans for her first session. She ended up mostly playing defense, according to them. And what the implication was is that while she's great at fundraising, the challenge for her was cultivating relationships in Congress. And what does that mean? Potentially going across the aisle when you don't want to. Potentially going across the aisle, okay, when it might be in the best interest of the 750,000 constituents you represent. We know you're a Democrat. We know how disgusting and vile you find the president to be. You've told us on more than one occasion. What I was saying was, where's that going to get you when you're so willing and so apt to verbalize it the way that you choose to verbalize it? How is that going to be productive to your constituents?
It's not.
You have every right to feel the way that you feel about him. You have every right to do everything that you can to vote him out of office, or in his case, the people that are under him, the J.D. Vances of the world, a Marco Rubio of the world, a Pam Bondi, a Kash Patel, and others. You have every right. You should be doing everything you can to win the midterm. But what I'm saying is, where is her rhetoric going to get her and the people she represents in the 30th Congressional District in Texas?
It's not.
What am I talking about? To my producers, could y'all play the clip when she's talking about the president as an enemy of the United States? Could you play that, please?
Your reaction to his appointment?
He needs to go. I mean,
this is very simple. We right now have a white supremacist that is sitting in the White House. He is backed up by other white supremacists. And if you really want to know who the criminals are in this country, you can Google it. You don't have to trust me. But the people that commit 80% of the most violent crimes in this country are white supremacists. Yet for whatever reason, they sit and they serve at the pleasure of the president. They are the ones that were there on January 6th, tearing our democracy down physically. And now we have them tearing us down right here from within. Here is the problem.
Of course, Congresswoman, to interrupt you, but President Trump, of course, has denied any allegations of the white supremacists, and that's why he apparently fired what he. I know your point, but he did fire Darren Beatty in reaction, they believe, in part to his attendance at that conference. Does that change your opinion in any way?
No, it doesn't change my opinion.
So that's the first clip. There's a president of the United States that you're calling a white supremacist, and you're saying that the people who work under him are that as well. While you're in the government needing assistance from that administration to get things done for your constituency and beyond. Okay, that's clip number one. Play clip number two, please. A full-fledged criminal. Play that, please.
Yeah, before we go to that, I mean, you know, he's going to have all the stuff that we heard before, and I'm going to go through it. But the truth of the matter is, it's so easy that you can see her flaws right on her sleeve. And you could tell that this is a grift. Somebody's paying, I don't know if it's APEC. I don't know who not APEC, because, you know, Trump is kind of in their pocket too. But she's being paid by the liberals to continue to perpetuate this so-called fallacy that we're in some kind of threat because Trump is president. I mean, you don't have to like Trump, but if we ever start talking about policies, he's running circles around the Democrats right now. So let's go ahead and let her get this. You know, I'm so tired of hearing these clips from this woman. Oh my God.
Democracy. Well, he did say he'd be a dictator on day one. Oh, Democrats, you know, it's just Trump. He just talks. Well, let me tell you something. He is doing more than talking. We talked about Project 2025. We talked about the consolidation of power. We talked about how he wanted to be a king. We talked about in a democratic republic, that is not what it is. We have some sort of checks and balances, and he is doing everything that he can to get rid of those checks and balances. The DOJ and the people that he's going after were simply doing their jobs. The problem is that Americans thought that it was okay to take a full-fledged criminal and make him the president of the United States, and then they want to act aghast when he does criminal things. Let me tell you, we have a thug in charge of the United States, and if we don't wake up, we may not have a United States, because right now he has only been successful in being a divider in chief.
So you care about facts, meaning the Democrats and the Republicans don't. Okay. That's another clip. And by the way, full-fledged criminal and thug. Those were words. How about this one, where she called the president a piece of shit? Play it.
Because the Supreme Court has paved the way for half the stuff that we see that's going on. Listen, Donald Trump is a piece of shit. Okay, we know that. Yes, yes. He is. He is. He is.
Donald Trump is a piece of shit. That's what she said. That's the third one. There's another one here where she's talking about how the GOP doesn't care about facts, but the Democrats do. You just heard that. There was also another one where she called them again a white supremacist, but it didn't just stop there. She went to her own governor of the state of Texas, who's in a wheelchair, by the way. Keep that in mind. And listen to what she said about him.
We in these hot ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes.
Governor Hot Wheels. And the only
Okay, come on, man. You know what? She's ratchet. She's lowbrow, low vibrational. But you know, I get a chuckle every time I hear it. You know, it's so stupid. She's the worst of the worst. Oh my God.
The thing that is hot about him is that he's a hot ass mess. And that's going to serve 750,000 constituency in the 30th district of Texas. That is what I was saying. Never mind what she feels. Never mind whatever level of justification you may have towards feeling the way that you feel. When you're in her position, that's not going to get you anywhere. That's what I was saying. What I was saying was this educated, brilliant.
Stephen A., you know, that's the problem I think you're having, right? They understand exactly what you're saying. That's the problem. They understand exactly what you're saying. They don't give a shit, man. They want you and all the rest of the black plantation dwellers to just move in a straight line, pick the cotton, you know, make the bed sheets, change the bedpans, and just do what their masters tell them to do. That's what they want. They want the liberal masses to keep you in victimization hood. We got a black woman on the Supreme Court saying that if they don't make blacks equivalent to handicapped people, we're not going to be able to vote. Right? We're going to lose our strength in voting because we need to be complete. We need to be treated like a protected class of handicapped individuals because we're monkeys in a tree. That's what the Democrats want. That's what the liberals want. Want everybody out there who's listening to me, I am going to do a video live on the Black Man Unfiltered Network on Monday at 7. And the title of that is, what if these libtards, these liberal idiots, take over the government again? What will America look like after they get finished with us? If they got the House, if they got the Senate, and somehow got to bend and break the Supreme Court, what would America look like with their ideology in charge, as opposed to what we have now? In recent years, we know what it looked like under Biden. Put that on steroids. We know what it looks like under Trump. And which one would you want to live under?
Black woman representing over 750,000 people is engaging in verbiage and rhetoric for the streets. And that's fine when you're in the streets. How many of y'all bring the streets to the table when you're at the negotiating table trying to get a deal done? How many of you are able to think that for a second that you're able to bring street verbiage to Capitol Hill and that's going to work for you? You literally have senators and congressional figures on Capitol Hill on the side of the Republicans telling the networks, whether it's Fox News, News Nation, or anybody else, please, please, please put her front and center on camera. Why would they do that? Because they know it wins for them. And what I was saying was, I appreciate her passion, her intellect, the fact that her heart and her willingness to be courageous and all of those things are in the right place. But my God, isn't it about winning too?
Yeah, but see, you know what? I know you want to make your point, but her heart is not in the right place. Her intellect is not in the right place. You know, and it is about winning. The fact that she can't win is because those things are not in the right place, Stephen A. And you're trying to still soft shoot this shit by giving her accolades that she does not deserve. She doesn't deserve these accolades. They're not in the right place. She's moving from a demonic place. You know, she's not moving from a place of righteousness, because she's lying in a lot of areas. Now, she could believe that the president is a crook and all that kind of stuff, but the other stuff is just rhetoric. You know what I'm saying? It's just rhetoric. It has not. Some of it has no basis in fact. The name calling certainly doesn't have any basis in fact. And so, it's not that's not intelligence. That isn't intelligence. That's a lie. So I know you're trying to soft shoot this shit. You're cutting short of just saying I apologize and forgive me, Black Queen and all this other bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But, if she was really on her square, she would be doing what you're going to say right now.
Ain't it about getting it done? How about positioning yourself, since Jasmine Crockett was on the record stating that we got to keep our eyes on the federal courts because the conservative federal courts are putting forth rules and regulations, policies, and fiduciary and judicial things that serve to benefit one side of our country, but not necessarily all sides. Well, wouldn't that mean that you'd want to become a judge? You are a lawyer by trade. You are licensed to practice law in Texas, Arkansas, and the federal courts. Wouldn't you be somebody that we'd want on the courts, or at least on committees, having a strong arm towards dictating who ends up on the courts? Not just the Supreme Court, but federal courts throughout this country, because that's what senators do, right? Wouldn't you want to position yourself to be able to beat a Ted Cruz or a Senator Cornyn? I'm talking about winning. I'm talking about winning. And listen, I voted for Kamala Harris. And I voted for her because I said, even though I wasn't fond of her as a candidate, I certainly thought that she would be more willing to work across the aisle and work with more congressional and Senate representatives than he would. I certainly
see. This is where, and I'm going to stop it here because people don't realize we have a two-party system. And even though you might see one or two things in a party, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, when you vote them into office, you are actually voting for everything they believe in. So, Stephen A., let me ask you a question. Do you really believe in open borders with millions of people coming into the country? That's what Kamala Harris would have done. Do you actually believe in castrating little boys and cutting the breasts off of little girls and filling them up with puberty blockers so they could be on medicines for the rest of their life and then calling it gender affirming care? You actually believe in that? Do you believe that a man could put on a dress, keep his Johnson, and go in little girls' bathrooms and swing his dick in their face and then compete against them in sports and all of that kind of stuff? You actually believe that? Because Kamala Harris can go walk across the aisle? You want to put her as the president of the United States? Now, I know Trump is, a handful of tape, but I would have put a ham sandwich in the presidency over Kamala Harris. I mean, don't you have a list of things that we wouldn't want the liberals to be in charge of the government anymore? Parental control over your children. In California, it's almost all gone. Spending our money on illegal aliens by the billions and putting them in Black communities and disenfranchising the Black residents in each one of those communities, repurposing schools and parks to house illegal aliens who haven't paid one goddamn cent or any blood for this country, using the taxpayers' dollars. What about reparations? Not only are the Blacks in these areas not getting reparations, they're getting whatever tax dollars they deserve taken away from them and given to aliens. So you actually believe in that, Stephen A.? Because you don't like Trump and you think Kamala Harris would have been a better choice? You don't think everything else goes along with her being president?
We felt like we wouldn't be hearing words like authoritarianism and dictators and stuff like that. I knew that. So I get where you're coming from. But when you talk about we're honest, they're not. Were you honest when you chose Hillary? and you shoved aside Bernie Sanders as a party? Were you honest when you chose Biden and you shoved aside everybody else because it was his turn? Were you honest when you bypassed a primary and made sure to ensure that Kamala Harris was the Democratic nominee for the presidency of the United States, when all of you knew, all of you knew that Biden was finished. You knew he had no business staying in the presidency. You knew that you could have influenced things in a way that would have forced him out. We would have had a primary, and the best candidate for the job would have been running against Trump this past, last November. You knew that. But like 2016.
Well, listen, I'll do you one better, Stephen A. They knew early on that they should have used the 25th Amendment to remove Biden. And unfortunately, and maybe they know they didn't like her either. She should have been president for 2 years already before this election, because she wouldn't have had to be elected. She would have been sitting in the office, and that would be the ultimate resume, because she would be an incumbent. And the people behind her didn't believe in her enough for that. So this whole election was a farce. They was taking a chance to see that maybe she might win. But if they wanted her to be president, they would have gave up their right to manipulate Biden for the last 2 years and put her in the White House, and she might be president now as an incumbent, and everybody in the country would be on his deathbed, but still. But they didn't even believe in her to do that.
Like 2020, as was the case in 2024. And unlike the Republicans, the conservatives, the elite chose our candidate. The people were bypassed on the Democratic side of the aisle. You circumvented your way as a party around the election process, and you have the audacity to talk about how others are a threat to democracy. Where's the consistency? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that the Democratic Party hasn't catered to elites every bit as much as they've accused Republicans of doing all of these years over the last 3 elections. Tell me that they said we listening to the people and we not just doing what we want to do because we're the one that's control the party and we'll manipulate them. Tell me that they haven't gotten folks, not specifically y'all, but folks like y'all, to sit up there and label anybody like me or others who would dare question the establishment and how things go down and say, yo, he a sellout. Yo, he don't care. What's up, Willie D? What's up? We want to talk policy? I didn't call you a name. I didn't disrespect you. I didn't diminish you, your intellect, your soul, your heart, your conscience, and whether or not it was in the right place. I'm just talking facts, bro. You in your 50s too, if not older. You're a grown-ass man. What's up?
Yo, but call his ass out, Stephen A. Why don't you call him out? That what he wrote to you was just stupid shit. It didn't even go to the point of what you said. He just says, because she's a black woman, you can't say anything about her. We got to get rid of these kind of coons. We need to be able to critique each other to move forward. We don't need him. We don't need D.L. Hughley. We don't need Steve Martin. Martin, whatever his name, Martin, Roland Martin. I don't care if they're your friends. We need people to get out of the way. I'm old, right? I'm starting to say, shit, man, as a non-baby boomer, as a baby boomer, it's only so much I can say, especially when it has the future. But I can call bullshit when I see it. So those posts that Willie D put out there and anybody else, if it just attacks the fact that you actually mentioned something about Jasmine Crockett because she's a black woman, we got to reject those ad hominem attacks right off the rip, because we need to get rid of those kind of conversations, because that's bullshit. Even that hyena, Tiffany Cross, the stupid shit she was sitting down in this podcast and the black guy sitting next to her looking like a helpless fucking puppy. We can't, we gotta stop letting women just say any old thing and get away with it like it's okay, because it's not okay.
I mean, that's it? That's what you got? He's being disrespectful? How am I disrespectful? If Jasmine Crockett was in my face right now, I would thank her for her service to our country, but I would ask her respectfully, how do you think that's going to work? Is that going to win the midterms? You know how they manipulate stuff. You know how they take sound bites. You know how they can make anybody look if you say the wrong things, particularly when you're an elected official. If you're coming across as belligerent, undisciplined, and a loose cannon, how do you then get to say what Trump is? Or the people under him when they're acting belligerent? Tamika Mallory, respectful woman, black activist, supporter of Black Lives Matter movement, along with various other things, highly intelligent, incredibly accomplished. I've heard so many wonderful things about this sister. I've read up on her a little bit, nothing but profound admiration. And then I see this. Black men, I have a question. I see a lot of great commentary from many of you on Stephen A. Smith's ignorant statements time and time again. This time, he disrespected a powerful Black woman who's putting her life in danger, fighting for us. At what point will you all lead the charge to turn him off? Go ahead and turn me off, ma'am. It's no longer a difference of opinion. Stephen A. Smith's actions are intentional, and in this climate especially, it's dangerous. Just wondering if you all plan to do him like you did the NFL about Colin, or are we still watching his commentary on Wake Up? We protect Jasmine for us, period, end quote. So, Tamika, don't recall ever meeting you.
Who the hell is this woman? I don't know who she is either. You know, who is she to dictate what fucking Black men should be doing? That's the point. We need to stop these fucking women for thinking they could tell us what to do. Nobody's turning off Stephen A. Smith because some fucking woman decides that we shouldn't be listening to him. And not for this, because he didn't say anything wrong. He didn't call for her to get hurt. He just called for her to act right, to be a part of the process to build a better America. And so he has to be canceled. You know, this is what I said before in the beginning. The reason why I'm glad it's him is because hyenas like this woman, I don't even know who she is. I don't care how much accomplishments. If she's thinking this way, she's dangerous. Dangerous from the standpoint is she's the old plantation thinking that the only right thing to say is go along with a Black woman no matter what kind of fuck shit she says. You know, we can't, you know, as Black men, we got to stop doing that. We just got to stop doing that. You know, I don't care. I mean, if Jasmine Crockett has a point, give her a point. But when she's getting up there cursing and getting up there saying all kinds of shit that doesn't benefit anybody but the Black coons that want to just kind of say, yeah, we got one. You know, that's not good enough anymore. Our communities are dead almost. Everywhere, in every blue state, we're on the bottom. And we've been supporting the Democrats for 60-something years. And we're still at the bottom everywhere. Birth rate, you know, baby mamas everywhere. Deadbeat dads here and there. You know, all kinds of stuff. Lower end on the job scale. The jobs that we have in the government, women getting laid off because they got these jobs that are expendable. Debt up to the wazoozie from college loans because they got basket weaving degrees. And nobody wants to tell nobody the truth without just kind of canceling him because he didn't say what a good boy should say. I mean, Black men, we got to just, I don't care if you know, whoever you are, you got to stand up and look these women in the face and just say, why don't you, you know what, why don't you just shut the fuck up, man, for a second?
You want me canceled because I asked a question Jasmine Crockett, how is that going to work for you and your constituency? You are a black woman who is speaking your mind. I spoke my mind about whether or not that strategy is going to work for her and going to work for the Democrats in pursuit of regaining power during the midterm elections and hopefully the presidency in 2028, because I'm not a Republican and I don't have a desire to vote for any of the Republican candidates that I see.
Yeah, but you know what, Stephen A., you're an idiot, though, for even saying that. But you can, like you said, you can vote for whoever you want to vote for. But you can see how your Democrats that you want to vote for eat their young. How is that good for the country?
And because of that, you want me canceled? You want to rally folks up to go against me? Let's get it on a micro scale. I'm a black man that's not doing for black people. How about the black people I employ? How about what I do with HBCUs? How about what I do within the walls of ESPN? How about the brothers and sisters that I've helped in this industry? All of that gets shoved aside and dismissed because I asked Representative Crockett, how's that going to work for you? Really?
You said
it's highly intelligent and accomplished as you.
No, listen, man. You know what? Why you have to keep adding that shit? She's not that accomplished. She's not that intelligent. If her emotions could guide her to say something so idiotic out in public because she looks at you as an enemy because you said something against a black woman. And I don't know, maybe she's black. I don't even know who the hell this woman is. But the truth of the matter is, that's the divide right there. These liberal black women don't give a shit about black men as long as we're looking on their boot heels, then we have a word to say. But if you have your own autonomous word to say, then all of a sudden you need to be canceled. You need to be this. Like I said, it's a good thing, even though you like this equivocating Democrat bullshit. I'm glad it's you, Stephen A., because they can't cancel you with this bullshit. And people are tired of cancel culture in general anyway. And there's a whole bunch of men are not going to stop listening to you because a couple of cackling hens and a couple of coons, who follow them are going to make us do that.
You are. That's all that it takes for you to go against everything that has helped make us what we are, that helped get what were we saying? Whether it's civil rights movement, pre-civil rights movement, post-civil rights movement, it's about having a voice and a connection. It's about having a microphone that resonates. It's about provoking dialogue and introspection. I have this show. You're welcomed on it. Jasmine Crockett's welcomed on it. Roland Martin has been on several times. Angela Rye's welcome on it. D.L. Hughley's welcome on it. Everybody doesn't have a platform. Most people who have a platform don't bring people on who disagree with them. I invite it all the time. But because I have an opinion about what's going to work and what's not, that's what we doing. When you look at the platforms that I have available to me, have you noticed how many black folks, how many women are suddenly on these platforms over the years compared to what it was before I arrived? Look at the names in power at ESPN, at Disney, at SiriusXM, even at Simon & Schuster. My book at Simon & Schuster was published through Imprint 13A. Mr. Charles Sue, a black man who was one of the most influential voices in all of publishing. I am quite sure that Black people who have worked with me, who have worked for me, who have worked under me, whatever, my bosses, I'm quite sure they don't all agree with every opinion that I say. But they still hired me. And the people that I employ, I still hire them because it's not a requirement that somebody agrees with me in order for me to be allowed over the airwaves. Do you have any idea what you've implied by putting out that tweet? By mere gesture that, Jasmine Crockett, I don't think that's the way to go. If you want to get the most for your constituency, I don't think that's the plan. You have any idea, Ms. Mallory, respectfully, what that implies? A Roland Martin, a Willie D, all of y'all, that might coincide with that kind of thinking. You have any idea? Never in a million years.
She doesn't have the idea. Here's a couple things. At best, she doesn't have the idea. At worst, she does, and she doesn't care. She just wants to burn you because of emotionalism. We need to get rid of these people as these so-called tacit leaders of the Black community. When I say get rid of them, and I got to be careful, I mean stop listening to them. We got to stop listening. And I think it's really, really working because that, D.L. Hughley comes out and screams every 5 minutes about something. Like you said, and you said it nicely, he's not even funny anymore, if he ever was, because he's so angry at the world because the world's changing before his eyes. Black people no longer are sitting here thinking we're victims to everything. And that same old trope that if the white man doesn't, fix it for us, we can't fix it for ourselves, is dying a horrible death. And change is always turbulent. Change is always turbulent. It's just no way around it. And so as we come out of the fog and move off the plantation, we're going to clash with people because a lot of them are getting paid to keep us there. Your Reverend Bobblehead Sharptons, your Roland Martins, your Steve Harveys, these guys get checks for keeping us on the plantation, and of course, all the women, forget it, man. Black women are pretty much lost to us. And for the most part, the liberal ones, right, who have voices because they all say the same thing. And so, yeah, Stephen, yeah, you're, and every time you say, oh, well, I don't want to vote for all these Republicans, but you know what you say on these podcasts kind of don't make sense. It's like a walking contradiction because all you have is smoke for the idiots that's on the Democratic Party. It seems like you're more in line with what the Republicans are saying, even if you don't want to say it out loud.
Would I even think to advocate for your cancellation just because I may disagree with you? I would never do that. Never, not in a million years. If I had the power with the executives that I know at various networks, if I had the power to get rid of any of y'all because your policies, your ideology, or your opinion about a particular subject or a particular individual different from mine, I would never, ever in a million years do that to you. I wouldn't do that to anybody. But somehow, some way, that's the world we're living in. And this is why I despise not any individual, but the politicians on Capitol Hill, what they collectively as a body have done to our nation. They feed division. They feed this kind of nonsense where they instigate stuff and then they turn around and they leave it to us to scratch and claw and fight amongst ourselves. So we get to ignore focusing on their efforts or lack thereof when it comes to the real issues that affect us as American citizens and especially as Black people. We got a government shutdown here. 750,000 people plus have been furloughed or fired. What are the Democrats asking for right now when it comes to specifically what they want and what they're looking for? They want the government reopened. They want to extend the Affordable Care Act premium subsidies. They want to make sure to restore, reverse certain cuts and restrictions from the big, beautiful bill. Is any of that getting done? I got a dude in the White House that adversaries say has no code of ethics, has no moral compass whatsoever. All he is about is something being in it for himself. That's what critics say. All I said in return is, well, then that should be easy to figure out what you can get from him. Because since the Republicans have the House and the Senate and the federal courts and the White House, there's nothing you can do other than figure out a way. I don't like this man, but I'm a Democrat, and I know that it's understood that I'm going to politic against him. However, in the meantime, I got 750,000 constituents to represent. Let me figure out a way to maneuver through this terrain to make sure we can get what we can for my peoples. As a product of an HBCU, as an ambassador for HBCU Week, why don't you take a moment to ask yourself how just in September, the president suddenly decided that over $500 million or approximately $500 million was going to be taken from predominantly white institutions and transferred over to HBCUs. I'm not saying I had anything to do with it, but I did speak to him about it. Check out the clips from News Nation from months ago. And suddenly it happened. I didn't vote for him. I don't like the way he acts. I don't like how he seems to be stripping back or scaling back access to Black history, the Smithsonian Museum and other things. Don't get me started. Blaming Black folks for DEI. But I also didn't like the fact that Black folks were gravitating to DEI like that's what qualified us. DEI benefited white women more than it benefited Black people.
Don't get me started on DEI, but you're absolutely right. So I don't need to add any more. You're saying it, you know, but yeah, because it's two sides to that coin. Nobody who's Black and accomplished wants somebody to call them a DEI hire, knowing that you got what you got because you worked your ass off for it.
That's the truth. Our intestinal resolve, our skill set, what we bring to the table. Hell with DEI. We'll find another way. We always do.
Thank you, Stephen A.
What I'm talking about is avoiding being so transparent that everybody sees you coming and knowing how to derail you before you even gain momentum. That's all I was talking about, Miss Mallory. That's all I was talking about, Roland Martin, Willie D. That's what I was talking about. And I shouldn't say Roland Martin because I really didn't see what he had to say about me, but it doesn't matter. I got love for the brother. I don't care. I'm always have love for him. It's just that simple. D.L. Hughley, the same thing. Those two brothers I've communicated with throughout the years. Not that much, but I got love for them. But I'm not y'all. And the one thing that will never happen, I will never succumb to, I will never surrender to, is somebody intimidating and trying to rally folks against me to quell what I have to say. Bump that.
Oh, that's the Stephen A. I know. That's right. Bump that. That's why I'm glad it was you.
I ain't built that way. Facts are facts. Jasmine Crockett is a representative out of Texas who I believe's heart's in the right place, is incredibly passionate, definitely intelligent, with a damn good resume. All I'm saying is that at some point in time when you want to get things done, you got to walk across the aisle and deal with people that you don't want to deal with. I've been in this business for over 30 years. There is a level of success that I have been blessed and fortunate by God to achieve. There is no doubt that I have encountered people that I believe are racist as hell. or no good, or certainly didn't have our community's interests at heart in any way. And somehow, some way, you have to work with them. You have to work for them sometimes. You have to deal with them. Even here on YouTube, do you know something? If you speak the way that Jasmine Crockett has spoken, sometimes that stuff gets flagged. It doesn't even get disseminated. This notion that you can do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, to whomever you damn well please, while still having your hand out for other people's assistance, it's not how things get done. Y'all are talking about and alluding to being real and authentic. I'm talking about something more than that. Winning. Go win the midterms. You're going to win the presidency. Are you going to get power and relevancy back in our United States government?
Oh, I really, really hope not. And you know, hey, listen, the Supreme Court ruling down in Louisiana, I'm telling you, man, you know, I know you probably didn't hear about this with Ketanji Brown Jackson and her pedestrian way that she looks at the law. You know, I'm not, listen, I think that there's a big unknown with the Republicans being in charge of all the federal government and the presidency with a conservative leaning court. But the rulings so far and the things so far, it just makes sense. It's better than the things I listed off before. Closed borders is something that we need for a good 8 years. If not forever. I'm not saying no, legal immigration should be the way it is. A small pipeline with a big demand and a small supply. So people who come here can get assimilated into the American way of life before they become citizens. That's the way it should be. You know, nobody minds paying for people who are pursuing citizenship the right way. Nobody minds that. Americans will be the first to say we're a country of immigrants. But now it's time to have control over who those immigrants are in terms of numbers. It's just as simple as that.
Because you see, that's what Hakeem Jeffries has to deal with. That's what Chuck Schumer has to deal with. That's what Nancy Pelosi has to deal with.
Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they shouldn't be a part of the government after 2026. They need to retire. They need to get the hell out of the way. Mitch McConnell, he's getting out. Maxine Waters needs to get the hell out of the way. Even though it seems like some of the younger crowd are idiots, especially on the Democrat side, the Republicans got a few idiots themselves, like the Gates of the world and some other people. So listen, but we need younger people who are looking for the future to get in charge. The old fogies, such as myself, we got to go. I mean, President Trump has to be the last president cutting from the 70s to the 80s that should ever hold office ever again.
That's what an abundance of Democrats have to deal with. Obama's out of office. He still has to deal with that. Everybody has their thoughts and opinions, and I get that. But to call for a rally for me to be canceled, that's shameful. It's immature.
And it's not going to work.
Bad news. Not only do I have the platform that I have more coming. I'm just not at liberty to talk about it right now. I'm not going away. I'm expanding.
And I get the shit-eating smirk on his face. That's the way it's supposed to be. You know, I call you an idiot enough, Stephen A., but you're my idiot.
You know what the sad part about this is?
What's the sad part, brother?
When I have a platform and the desk is bigger, it's because I'm going to have people right on this desk with me. Some of them are going to be Republicans. Some of them are going to be independents. Some of them are going to be Democrats. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to point them in the direction of a Tamika Mallory, of a Roland Martin, of a D.L. Hughley, of a Willie D., of a host of folks representing that side of the aisle, showing a level of respect far exceeding the respect you were willing to accord me. And why would I do that? It's very simple. Because it's bigger than me. It's not about me. It's about getting things done and making sure that voices that need to be heard and issues that need to be addressed happen instead of being petty because you didn't like what somebody said and misconstruing and redefining what they said and labeling it as disrespect and trying to come across as if it were misogynistic.
That's their go-to thing, though, Stephen A. You know, when they don't have an argument that's cogent, it's always sign language, you know, shame, insults, you know, guilt, the need to be right, you know. So this is the classic. That's why when they say these women are intelligent, some of these sycophantic men are intelligent, but they go back to the same old tropes and the same old way of doing business. You know, again, you're right. I don't think anybody should be canceled, but I think the word mostly is exposed. I think they should be exposed for the Trojan horses that they actually are and how harmful they are to the Black community, such as whatever the Black community is. Because, you know, we need people who are coming out of the cocoon of plantationism to understand why they're breaking free. And they need strength to break the shell. And they need people to tell them it's okay. The air is fresh out there without the strings that the Democrats try to put on you, that the liberals say you require to exceed to succeed. You know, we do pretty good when we have to fight for what we get. Just like anybody else, maybe even better than anybody else, considering, you know, it's only been 150, 170 years since the worst shit has happened to us as American citizens. Here we are. You know, I mean, here we are. Here you are, the highest paid sports athlete, analyst, I guess, that ever existed. You know, so, I mean, you know, at some point we got to say, you know what, merit matters.
I'm not doing that to anybody. But I have had a lot of people in my life that have done that have turned against me. I hope it was worth it because they'll never be able to turn back. I see who they are, and I'm good with them being gone from my life. As for those of you out there that have your platforms and engage in your commentary, do you. I'm going to do me. And with Jasmine Crockett, Representative Jasmine Crockett, I'm going to say once again, go back and look at what I said. It was not disrespectful in any way. It certainly was not meant to be disrespectful in any way. I was simply talking about you and your verbiage potentially getting in the way of what you undoubtedly are aiming to accomplish because your soul is in that place. That's all. Nothing more. And you and your colleagues and contemporaries are always welcomed on this show. That's all I have to say. I hope that came across And I sincerely hope that nobody tries to say I was disrespectful again. When I'm disrespectful, you'll know this was not one of those times. I would not do that to Representative Crockett. I would not do that. That's it for the special edition.
That's a very good one, Stephen A. Very, very good. I tell you what, I like this. I'm glad he didn't put out some half-ass unnecessary apology. He just told him where he stood. Now, they could either take that or not. But every time I get a chance to stick it into those so-called black people who have these high purchases, but they're ultra liberals, and all they care about is us staying in line and on the plantation, I can't help it. I can't stand it. I can't help it. And of course, excuse me, my camera went out too. I'm pissed about that. Anyway, so I'm going to leave you guys with this. And you know what, Catellia, a while ago, I had my song Rise Again about getting off the plantation. And I haven't played it in months, maybe longer than that. But I'm going to play it at the end, because if anybody gets to the end here, which most people don't when they listen to these long streams, I don't care. But I'm going to play it anyway, because black people need to get the hell off the plantation big time. And anybody else who's black, black adjacent on the plantation of the Democratic Party. I started my divestment from in earnest in 23, even though I couldn't vote for Joe Biden when he was voting. But the truth of the matter is, I'm so happy to see more and more black folks saying it's time to get off. So anyway, without further ado, here's my jam, Rise Again, for the black folks to get the hell off the plantation and understand that there's more to us than meets the eye.
In the shadow of the oak trees, where the too many lives lost their shine, our hands are calloused, our hearts are heavy, so many dreams lost in time. Fields stretch out like a memory, whispers blown in the breeze, yearning for a place where we can finally breathe. We are trapped on the plantation, bound by mental chains that leave us drained, but there's a fire inside of us. We will rise again. With our voices, we'll break the silence. With our hearts, we'll find our way through the shackled darkness of our past to a brighter, free, thinking modern day. Underneath the midnight sky, stars begin to glow. We gather round in secret, sharing tales of hope. New words of freedom echo boldly, energizing our souls. We'll march to the rhythm of a true dream that makes us whole. We are trapped on the plantation, bound by mental chains that leave us strained, but there's a fire inside of us. We will rise again. With our voices, we'll break the silence. With our hearts, we'll find our way through the shackled darkness of our past to a brighter, free, thinking modern day. Every heart that's been broken, every life that's been torn, is a seed of revolution in the fields where we were born. So we'll stand up together, hand in hand we will fight for the dreams of our ancestors. We must claim our birthright. We are trapped on the plantation, bound by mental chains that leave us strained, but there's a fire inside of us. We will rise again. With our voices, we'll break the silence. can hear our song. For we are breaking the mental shackles, and we will rise strong. From the ashes of our history, a new dawn will appear. Trapped no more, we'll find our way off the plantation, for our freedom is here.
Like, share, subscribe. I'm out of here.